Few names from ancient Rome echo with such infamy as that of Caligula. His brief reign, a mere 4 years from 37 to 41 AD, is etched in history as a period of unparalleled madness and cruelty. He was the third emperor of Rome, following the reign of Augustus, the founder of the empire, and the stern rule of Tiberius. While his predecessors had their flaws, Caligula's excesses were of a different order altogether. He transformed from a seemingly promising young ruler into a figure of tyranny, debauchery, and terror. His story is not just a morbid fascination, but a cautionary tale about the corrupting nature of power. It serves as a stark reminder of how absolute authority, when placed in the wrong hands, can lead to unimaginable horrors. Caligula's reign, though short, left an indelible mark on the Roman psyche, forever associating his name with the darkest potential of human nature when unrestrained by law or morality. Gaius Julius Caesar Germanicus, as Caligula was originally known, was born into a family steeped in Roman history and power. His great-uncle was Augustus, the first emperor, and his father Germanicus was a beloved general. This lineage brought both privilege and scrutiny. Young Gaius spent his early years amidst the military camps of his father, earning the nickname Caligula, meaning little boots, from the miniature legionary outfit he wore. When Caligula was just 7 years old, his father died under mysterious circumstances, rumored to be poisoned by a rival. This tragedy cast a shadow over the young boy's life, but also garnered him public sympathy. People saw in him the image of his heroic father and hoped for a return to strong leadership. This goodwill carried him into his rule when, at the age of 24, he became emperor. The initial months of his reign were met with widespread celebration and relief, a stark contrast to the terror that would soon follow. Within a year of assuming power, Caligula fell gravely ill. The exact nature of his ailment remains a subject of historical debate, but its impact was undeniable. He experienced a high fever and delirium from which he emerged a changed man. Gone was the hopeful young emperor, replaced by a capricious and often cruel tyrant. Some historians speculate that the illness may have unhinged his mind, while others believe it simply removed any restraint, revealing his true nature. Whatever the cause, Caligula's behavior became increasingly erratic. He indulged in extravagant luxury, squandering vast sums of public funds on lavish parties and bizarre construction projects. He displayed open contempt for the Senate, once the revered governing body of Rome, and began to style himself as a living god, demanding absolute obedience and worship. This shift marked the beginning of his descent into madness and the unleashing of a reign of terror upon Rome. Caligula's sadistic pleasure knew no bounds. He reveled in watching people being attacked, often devising cruel punishments for those who displeased him, real or imagined. He was known to have senators trampled to death for minor infractions and enjoyed watching people being tortured and executed during his lavish banquets. His paranoia grew, leading him to see enemies everywhere, even among his closest advisors and family members. His reign became synonymous with arbitrary executions and confiscations of property. The once respected legal system of Rome was twisted to serve his whims, with trials becoming mere formalities leading to predetermined guilty verdicts. The fear he instilled was palpable, silencing any opposition and creating an atmosphere of constant dread within the Roman elite. The palace became a place of horror and fear as Caligula's reign took a dark turn. Perhaps the most infamous example of Caligula's eccentricities, and the one that best illustrates his detachment from reality, was his treatment of his horse, Incitatus. This magnificent stallion was lavished with unimaginable luxury. He was gifted a marble stable, ivory mangers, and even a house staffed with servants dedicated to his every whim. Caligula went so far as to declare his intention to appoint Incitatus as a senator, a move that highlighted his contempt for the Roman aristocracy. While some historians argue that this was merely a cruel joke designed to mock the Senate, others believe Caligula's attachment to the horse was genuine. They point to his increasingly erratic behavior and suggest that he may have genuinely believed in Incitatus's intelligence and worthiness of political office. Regardless of his true intentions, the episode solidified Caligula's reputation as a madman in the eyes of the Roman people. It became a symbolic representation of his arbitrary rule and the absurdity of his reign. As Caligula's reign progressed, his paranoia intensified. The emperor, convinced that enemies surrounded him, saw plots and conspiracies everywhere. He surrounded himself with a Praetorian Guard, his personal bodyguard, and became increasingly reliant on informers and spies. His suspicions extended to his own family, leading him to order the executions of his cousin, Gemellus, and his own brother-in-law, Marcus Lepidus, both accused of treason on flimsy evidence. This atmosphere of suspicion and fear permeated the imperial court. No one, not even Caligula's closest advisors or family members, felt safe from his wrath. The once vibrant center of Roman power became a place of whispers and intrigue, where any perceived slight, real or imagined, could result in a death sentence. This constant paranoia further eroded Caligula's mental state, pushing him further into madness and cruelty. Section 7. The German Campaign, a farce of conquest. Caligula's military campaigns were as erratic and illogical as his rule. He launched an invasion of Germania, the region across the Rhine River, but the campaign was a farcical display of his instability. Despite the Roman army's superior training and equipment, Caligula showed no strategic acumen. Instead of engaging in decisive battles, he ordered his soldiers to collect seashells on the shores of the English Channel, declaring them to be spoils of war from his conquest of the ocean. This bizarre behavior further eroded the morale of his troops and cemented his image as a laughingstock among his enemies. The German campaign, which began with such grand ambitions, ended in a humiliating retreat, achieving nothing but the further depletion of the Roman treasury and the weakening of the empire's borders. Section 8. The plot against the emperor, whispers of rebellion. The absurdity of Caligula's reign, coupled with his brutality, inevitably led to opposition. Whispers of discontent, which had begun as murmurs in the shadows, grew into a chorus of dissent. Senators, once cowed by his terror, began to plot against him, driven by a desperate need to end his tyrannical rule and restore stability to Rome. The Praetorian Guard, initially loyal due to Caligula's increased pay and privileges, also became disillusioned. They witnessed firsthand his madness and feared for their own lives. The conspiracy against Caligula was born out of a shared sense of desperation, a belief that his removal was necessary for the survival of Rome itself. Section 9. The assassination, a bloodbath in the palace. On January 24, 41 AD, the plot against Caligula came to a head. A group of Praetorian guards, led by Cassius Chaerea, a tribune who had been the target of Caligula's mockery, ambushed the emperor in a corridor beneath the Palatine Hill. Caligula, caught off guard, was stabbed multiple times, his cries for mercy echoing through the palace corridors before being silenced by the assassins' blades. The assassination was brutal and swift, reflecting the pent-up rage and fear that Caligula had instilled. His wife, Cautionary, and their young daughter were also murdered, ensuring that there would be no heir to challenge the conspirators. The news of Caligula's death sparked celebrations throughout Rome. People poured into the streets, rejoicing at the end of the reign of terror. Section 10. Legacy of a tyrant, Caligula's enduring infamy. Caligula's reign, though brief, left a lasting scar on the Roman psyche. His name became synonymous with tyranny, cruelty, and madness. His excesses and depravity became legendary, recounted, and perhaps exaggerated by historians such as Suetonius and Cassius Dio, ensuring that his infamy would endure through the ages. While some modern historians argue for a more nuanced view, acknowledging the possibility of bias in the ancient sources, the image of Caligula as a monstrous tyrant remains deeply ingrained in popular imagination. His story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of restraint and accountability, even for those in the highest positions of authority. Caligula's reign may have been short, but his legacy continues to resonate as a stark warning about the fragility of civilization and the ever-present potential for human cruelty.